Fiona Phillips, 65, beams in rare snap amid her battle with Alzheimer's as husband Martin Frizell reveals hope that new PM Andy Burnham will make a difference to sufferers. Fiona Phillips' husband Martin Frizell shared a rare snap of the presenter on Wednesday amid her battle with Alzheimer's. The former GMTV star, 65, was only 61 when she was told she had developed the disease, a progressive, incurable brain disorder that causes a decline in memory, thinking, and behavior. Martin posted a snap of his wife on Instagram while sharing how the new Prime Minister Andy Burnham's calls for health and social care reform will finally bring hope to those suffering from the disease. The Prime Minister used a speech on Wednesday to decry a major dereliction of public duty by politicians for not resolving the country's social care crisis, while announcing he is accelerating Louise Casey's review of social care so it will report next year.
Tired of constantly refilling your pet's water bowl? This filtered fountain keeps water circulating and offers a generous capacity, giving cats and small dogs convenient access to flowing water. Want to get the best verified deal and see full details? Visit grabdeal.us/5 right now.
Martin shared a snap of Fiona enjoying her breakfast at their home, with the caption, "Fiona at breakfast today. At one point, she was going to work with Andy Burnham as health secretary when Gordon Brown asked her to become a health minister in his government." If the new prime minister, who knows what Alzheimer's can do from his father's experience, follows through on making a difference to sufferers like Fiona, his dad, and millions of others, then he will become the most consequential politician of his generation. For decades no one listened. Dementia became the poor relation to cancer, and yet it's our biggest killer. Sadly, it's taken someone touched by dementia to take it seriously, but how will we afford to treat it properly? Who knows, but when your family life is altered forever by a dementia diagnosis, you won't be quibbling about 1 or 2% extra you've contributed to provide to a proper care system. If in doubt, spend a day with an Alzheimer's family, and you'll see why there's so much hope riding on Andy Burnham and Louise Casey. It cheered up our morning. In the 4 years since Fiona's diagnosis, Martin has been fighting for an improved government policy to support people with Alzheimer's and their families. During his speech on Wednesday, the Prime Minister said blame for a lack of social care reform lies with my generation of politicians who had not got to grips with the issues posed by an aging society and unfairness in the system. I think more is possible from within existing resources, and the things that I've talked about today, particularly around the workforce, will be fully funded, the PM said, when asked after his speech if he could transform social care without raising taxes. So I think, firstly, you have to do more with what you've got. But I think Louise Casey indicated some of what we would want to do in the fullest sense will require difficult decisions. The former GMTV star was only 61 when she was told she had developed the disease, a progressive, incurable brain disorder, pictured in 2018. Martin shared a snap of his wife on Instagram while sharing how the new Prime Minister Andy Burnham's calls for health and social care reform will finally bring hope to those suffering from the disease. But we will be honest with people about those. We will put them before the country at the right time, and we will hopefully proceed with people's consent. He insisted he would stick to Labour's existing manifesto commitments on not hiking income tax, national insurance, or VAT in this parliament. The PM also suggested that savings from the NHS from resolving the social care crisis could help fund a reformed system. He said it costs the NHS around £2.5 billion a year to have people kept in hospital even though they are medically fit to leave, because there is no suitable care available in the community. He also warned the lack of a preventative front-end social care service. Stopping people from going into hospital in the first place was costing the NHS several £billions a year. I think we owe it to the public before we talk about tax rises to do more with what you've got, the PM added. In an ideal world, nobody would have to sell their home to pay for their care, Mr. Burnham said. I think it's a really awful process for those who live through it, the whole thing of children taking power of attorney and then dealing with parents' finances, he added. I think the whole thing is horrendous for those who live through it, and they see everything that their parents have worked for just whittled away in front of them, paying for care that often isn't good enough care in terms of what you would want for your mum and dad. I think the system isn't right, and in an ideal world, no, I wouldn't want to see that. Mr. Burnham said he had learned from his previous attempt at social care reform when he was health secretary in Gordon Brown's government between 2009 and 2010. We probably left the reform too late in that parliament, and it got too close to a general election, he said. Learning from that, that's why I'm bringing forward one of the reasons why I'm bringing forward Louise's review, because I think it's better to do it sooner and further away from an election. And that answers another story for the media, doesn't it? That there's no election on the horizon. I think it's best to deal with it early and to listen. Mr. Burnham said he was intent on reforming social care for his father, who has Alzheimer's, and the millions like him up and down the country. I know this will require me to put what political capital I have on the table, and it could wear down that political capital in some ways. I'm prepared to do it because this has gone on too long. The risks of failing to act are too great. Martin recently opened up about the wretched effects of his wife's ongoing battle, as he took to Lorraine to call for the government to do more to find a cure for the disease. He sat down with Lorraine Kelly on her self-titled show to issue an update on how Fiona was doing after she was diagnosed. Martin quit his position at ITV after 10 years in charge to be around much more for wife Fiona in 2024 and helped write her memoir, Remember When. Opening up on her worsening condition, Martin said that he had battled slipping into a depression as he cared for Fiona and watched her slip away. He told Lorraine, "She doesn't remember Valentine's Day, she doesn't remember Christmas now, she doesn't remember New Year's. It's wretched. Not just for her, but for the family as well. She's still there, but day by day we can see it slipping away, and just to sit there and see this person who was, as you know, was the most dynamic, bubbly, and had so much pride in how she dressed and what she did, it's just a loss of dignity. People do ask, 'Are you okay?' And I used to say, 'It's not me, don't worry about me,' but I am conscious that I've never been a depressive person, but I can slip into that. My respite is work. I've gone back to broadcasting and podcasting. But I still feel guilty. I feel guilty being here away from Fiona." Martin went on to reveal the ways he could see Fiona fighting her worsening condition, praising her for being a stubborn woman. "I don't want to give the impression she's some sort of basket case, as she's very much with us. She still is the world's most stubborn woman, and she's still around the house," the broadcaster continued. "We play her a lot of Rod Stewart. When she was a reporter, she interviewed him and they became friends. He called her Doris. And I think she's a contender for Rochelle, and Marvin hums the hit list because she can do all the tunes." Martin hit out at the government for not doing more to find a cure for the disease, and hit out at the then Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, Wee Streeting. He noted that since Fiona's book was published in July 2025, he had not noticed anyone speaking about Alzheimer's. The couple live with their two sons, Nathaniel, 26, and Mackenzie, 23, who also have to entertain their mother's terrifying delusions, one of which required Martin to pretend that he has smuggled his wife away from her parents. He told This Morning, "Fiona and I leave as if I am taking her home. We walk around the block as she loudly proclaims, 'I'll never forgive you for tricking me,' and passersby stare. Then we are back home again, where she goes in and greets Mackenzie as if she hasn't seen him for days." Despite seeing the diagnosis coming as his wife became increasingly withdrawn and anxious, Martin said when it finally came it was awful. "You realize that there are around 70,000 people who have early-onset Alzheimer's, and there is not a lot of help out there," he added. "As a family, we are just kind of left to get through it, and at some point we will need more support, but there's just nothing really. You become kind of invisible," he told The Telegraph in a recent interview. "If you mention the word Alzheimer's or dementia, it brings it to the front, and it's upsetting because she knows the way it's going," he also wrote in the book.